So first things first, I'm a mama's boy. You should know that. And another thing, my mom's favorite movie from like back in the day is called Gidget. And she had a favorite character, and the character's name was Moondog. So just a little facts about my mom and everything. She's diabetic, and when I was 15 years old, which was sophomore year of high school, she went in to get a kidney transplant, so she went through surgery. And through that surgery, there were complications. So with that being said, one day, not one day, actually during the surgery, right after the surgery, my dad came home to my sister and I, and he pretty much told us, Mom is blind now. And when he said that, because he's my dad, I was like, he's not lying to me, but I just couldn't believe that it was true. So in my head, I just continued to think, no, she can see, he's just fooled. They don't know what they're talking about. So the next day we went to later on that day we went to the hospital, and when we got there, what I was expecting was a reaction from my mom like, hey, surgery went well, we're good, how are you, blah, 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 I'm good now. But when we walked in, there was no real response because she actually couldn't see us. And at that point, it kind of was awkward because I still couldn't believe that it was true. The only reaction that she had was, who's there? Because she heard us walking in. And that like little phrase stuck with me because it's like, Mom, it's Keith, I'm your son. What do you mean who's there? Like, you should know I'm here, you should see me, what are you doing? So those few words just resonated with me. In a sense, a few months after that and things like that, I'm not depressed, but a little depressed, I guess, and a little upset at things and about how things were going. But I kind of looked on the positive side eventually. Once I got to like senior year, about to go into college, I looked at the positive because one, my mom was still alive, she was still with us, and two, she's going to be my mom regardless. The reason why on my arms I wrote, she still calls me Moondoggy, is because that was just a cute little nickname she gave me when I was younger. And 5 years later, which now I'm 20, this incident happened when I was 15. So 5 years later, she still calls me Moondoggy. So essentially, she calls me Moondoggy is why I resonate with that statement.
Thank you. Community storyteller is Megan Finer, a senior majoring in physiology and neurobiology. Come on, girlfriend.
So this one goes out to my Nana, and a little bit about her. So I have 12, she has 12 grandkids, and they're her pride and joy. Everything about her life is focusing on them. She's always so proud of everything that we're always doing, always checking in. She loves to have conversations with me no matter how she's feeling. And she makes a big deal out of every single accomplishment that we make in our life, because when she was growing up, she didn't have the same opportunities as us, and she always thinks that she's not educated, even though I disagree, but I'm really not in a position to argue with your grandma. So she's amazed at how like smart her grandchildren are, and so everything that we do, everything that we accomplish is this huge feat for her. I always think that she's like a very wise person and someone to like model my life after. So that's like my backstory about my grandma. But since 7th grade, I've wanted to be a doctor, and like a little bit of flash forward to 8th grade, I was graduating. It's not like a real graduation, but it's like a little award ceremony, and there was one final award that I received, and on my way up, the gym is like dead silent, and I just hear Dr. Megan come from my grandma, and it was just like really embarrassing. People laughed at me. But like I take that embarrassment and like I think about it now, and I just realize just how proud of me she was in that moment. And whenever I like doubt myself or like think that I can't accomplish my goals, I like look back to that moment and think about just how proud she is of me, and like always trying to like accomplish my goals for her and to like prove myself to her keeps me going. So yeah.
All right, our next community storyteller, Christine Savino, a senior majoring in business management.
incredibly proud of being in this country. I came here from an orphanage in China and grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood. Especially in middle school and high school, I'd get comments like, "Why don't you have a nose?" And "Why is your face so round? Why do you look Asian? What are you exactly?" One girl would even try to fight me, especially in middle school, and overall, it was miserable for me. During that time, I withdrew from people. I separated myself from my peers because I didn't feel like I really deserved to be around other people. My freshman year of high school, my mother passed from cancer, and I struggled with the bills along with my father. Because of this, I desperately took on night jobs, meaning I would be working until 2 and 4 a.m. most mornings, and then I would have to go to school and start at about 7:25. This, on top of studying and trying to sustain some type of life, was very draining. One night, well, really one morning, I was wrapping the sandwiches at this night job, and one man didn't like how I had wrapped it. And he shouted out at me, "You should get out of my country," which was incredibly offensive and racist and overall awful. And I realized at that one point that one statement had summarized years of microaggressions of how people had treated me and essentially what I had experienced. And it was a pivotal time for me, and it was an important time because of that. And ironically enough, during that time that he said that, I was actually in the process of becoming legal and becoming documented. Eventually, though, in the end, everything worked out. I became a legal immigrant. I ended up being very successful in school. I graduated at the top of my class, and I'm here at UCONN. So I think that the main point that I'm trying to say is it doesn't really matter what you've been through or where you come from or what you look like. It doesn't dictate where you'll be in life, and it shouldn't limit you. And that's it. Thank you.
All right, so our last community storyteller for the evening is Ashley Robinson, who's getting her PhD in leadership and educational policy. Y'all give it up, Ashley.
I'm the responsible one. I am the responsible older sister, which is why last summer, when I took a cross-country trip with my younger sister, my primary goal was getting us and all of her belongings in her 2001 Dodge Neon back home. My sister is my absolute best friend. We have been through all of the challenges and joys of life together. And the same went for this road trip. All of the travel and the nature and the weather and the excitement, we all went through it together. And about 6 days into our road trip, we got to Nashville, which my sister was so excited for. She's a huge country music fan. I could take it or leave her, but you know, that's fine. And she was so stoked to be in Nashville. So we got up early that morning and we spent the whole day in Nashville. Like, walking around and taking tours and country music hall of fame and everything. And by the end of the day, we landed at this country music bar. It was super loud, it was late, we'd been out for a long time. I was exhausted. And we're just sitting there and we ordered a couple drinks and we got some appetizers. And I was like, okay, starting to feel like the tiredness set in, starting to get ready to go home to our Airbnb, which was our home for the night. And she just turned and looked at me and said, "What do you think?" And I knew that she was thinking that I was gonna say, like, "I think it's time to wrap this up. Like, it's time to call it a night, to do the responsible thing." But out of the corner of my eye, I saw a poster on the wall, a Jack Daniels poster. And I looked right at her and I said, "I think we need to get a Jack and Coke." And her reaction, like, she had tears in her eyes. And I was like, this is not a thing that we cry about. Like, what is happening here? But it was just this moment of, this is never gonna be something that we do again. We are never gonna take this cross-country road trip again. We are never gonna have this moment in our lives where we're sitting at this country bar and we're gonna have a Tennessee whiskey in Tennessee and just, raise a glass to our beautiful, wonderful adventure and to being best friends and to everything that is so wonderful about our life. And I never thought that I could say something like that to my sister and make her tear up. But it was a surprising and awesome moment, and one that I know that I'll never have again, and one that I know that I'll never forget.
All right, so that said, there were so many fun stories that you guys shared, some stories that, had emotional element to it, some things that you shared that you had never shared with anyone before. And I think that is the beauty of this project. So when we leave, we want you all to remain curious about each other. Nothing is cooler than kind of walking around the room and having you write on each other. And even people were like, could you write on me? And I'm like, no. Anybody but me. I want you to go talk to somebody that you may not know and ask them to write on you. And, relationships can cultivate. There were groups of you that I know didn't know each other that were like sitting in a corner helping, each other work through the workbooks. And at the end of the day, that is what we strive to do. To have you guys have organic and genuine connections with each other. So that being said, y'all ready to see y'all pictures? Well, if y'all don't say nothing, I ain't gonna play. James said, I don't think they're ready. They didn't say nothing. I'm gonna try it again. Y'all ready to see y'all pictures? All right, good God. So I want to present to you Dear World live from University of Connecticut. Y'all give it up for yourselves. I definitely want you all to give a round of applause to the Student Union Board of Governors for putting this event on. They were amazing working. Shout out to David. And if you ever feel like you need someone to talk to, there's definitely counseling and mental health services available on campus for the free. All right? Don't take that for granted. So here's what's gonna happen. You all are gonna get an email from me tonight, right? It's gonna be a long email. And for what I've learned about college students, I used to be one, we don't read long emails. So let me tell you what it's gonna say. Essentially, you're gonna get your pictures in 2 weeks, all right? They are coming back to New Orleans. I'm going to turn the hard drives into our amazing post editor guy, and he's gonna just run them through. Jason did a great job. I don't know, they just do it again, whatever. And he's gonna send out an email in 2 weeks with a link to those pictures. They're gonna get loaded onto Facebook, and they're also gonna be on SmugMug, right? Another paragraph of the email is gonna invite you to be our friend on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all right? And then another one is gonna acknowledge the amazing street team. Y'all give it up for them, the volunteers that were with us the entire 2 days. And I said all that to say, don't email me in the morning asking me where your picture is. All right? So, this is how I close out every show. I want y'all to repeat after me. You ready? I will not email fresh in the morning asking for my picture. Because it's coming in 2 weeks. I love y'all. Okay, so the other thing I want you to keep in mind, raise your hand if you have not taken your zero raw picture yet. All right, we are set up, and what's the name of that room? In the lobby. In the lobby. My bad. We have refreshments for you guys. Jason has the backdrop and everything set up. You guys are gonna be able to grab a book and pretty much go through the same thing everybody else did over the past couple of days, all right? It's gonna ask you to reflect, it's gonna ask you to pick a focus, and it's gonna ask you to share a story that only you can tell, all right? And from there, we're gonna pull key words, phrases, and sentences from that story, and you're gonna ask anybody in the room that's not be a photographer to write that message on your skin. Keep in mind, we want you to bend at the elbows, all right? It could be any pose you want. This has to be bent at the elbows with your body making some kind of contact to the tabletop. You are going to find your story that only you can tell. And keep in mind, great Dear World messages evoke curiosity. They link to a specific story, and it is subject matter that you are comfortable talking about. I appreciate y'all so much. I got to wear all my jackets these past 2 days. I brought everyone I have, and I'm this cold in New Orleans, so thank you, Connecticut. All right, see y'all in the lobby.